Welcome to another day in the Matrix, and I hope you're all doing amazing. A lot's gone down in this market since my last video, so we have a lot to cover today now that we have officially moved into April, and we have a very important trading session ahead on April 2nd, where the whole market will be awaiting what Donald Trump is calling Liberation Day with tariff announcements. So naturally, this was the perfect time to release a new video so that we could review these markets with you and show you what I'm anticipating for this week ahead and how I see this month of April playing out. So if you're new here at Waters Above, we're empowering you to unlock your infinite potential with esoteric investing by combining Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology with technical analysis to understand these markets and become a more profitable investor. Now let's take the clear pill. So the chart you're seeing on the screen is the total crypto market cap chart. And you can see we're actively retesting this major support trend line as I record this video. And what's actually great to see about this retest is the fact that it was our resistance all last year. Interestingly enough, this resistance was confirmed at the same exact time of year, almost on the same exact dates last year. So if we were to zoom in, we'll see that between March 11th through 13th, we pushed up past this green line, which is the 888 fib level, one of my favorite Fibonacci levels to utilize. Then we rejected on the 14th of March, followed by an almost 20% pullback. Then we'll see that March 19th and March 20th specifically are sticking out, since we dumped pretty much the same amount as we pumped the following day on the 20th. You can see it very clearly here. And when we look at today's chart, we had this happen in reverse, where we effectively can zoom in here and we have the 19th we pumped and the 20th we dumped. And we had our lows planted into the 11th of March, nearly the same dates, retesting the same exact level, but in reverse, with last year being a resistance, and this time we're potentially retesting and back testing this key level as a support. Interesting, right? Now, to keep things purely technical, it's also important to mention that this level of around 2.5 trillion was also a noticeable resistance back during alt season in early May 2021. Around the time that it ended, you'll see it essentially looked like a blow-off top. And after this blow-off top structure formed, you'll see that we crashed into the end of May 2021, excuse me. This was the start of our last lunar cycle, which was triggered by a total lunar eclipse on May 26th, 2021. Just like we recently had a total lunar eclipse a couple weeks ago on March 14th, which initiated our lunar cycle we just entered. So the question is this it for our correction? Are we simply just back testing a key resistance level and confirming it as a support at the perfect timing with this astrological alignment? Well, of course, that would be the good news and the optimistic outlook on what's happening in this crypto market right now. And since a couple days ago, we had a partial solar eclipse on the new moon here on March 29th, and we're now in the final week of Mercury retrograde. This actually still gives us a couple more weeks until the April full moon to be fully out of this eclipse season and Mercury retrograde energy that's known to be, quote, constrictive for markets and, of course, incredibly volatile. So with that foundation I just gave you, now I want to review some key dates for you to consider in the short term between now and the full moon this month, since I just brought up the April full moon. And just so you're aware, we've been tracking this whole move over the past month, day by day, over on my Patreon. So if you want more frequent updates on the market, you can head over to patreon.com/WatersAbove and join our Mastermind community membership here at the start of April and unlock over 400 exclusive posts and over 200 full-length podcasts, including my new What I'm Investing In podcast I just released a couple days ago, covering my entire portfolio of over 20 different altcoin projects. So that 2-hour podcast was essentially a crypto masterclass. That podcast alone would be worth the cost of the membership. And by joining our community of conscious investors, you'd also unlock access to our Discord community where you could hang out with like-minded people and chat about so much more than just crypto. And the link can also be found in the description and in the pinned comment below. Really looking forward to having you join us. And for anyone in our mastermind community, you could comment below and let everyone know about the accuracy of how we've been analyzing this market over the past couple weeks. I've been putting out about 2 to 3 new market updates every week, along with my full-length podcast every Sunday to review the markets and the setup for the week ahead. Total of 3 to 4 updates per week. Now let's get into our first key date, starting with April 4th. And to start off, we need to recap the dates this is all connected to. And I'm sure many of you remember the major liquidation event that we had on February 2nd. We technically had our daily close come in around 8 p.m. Eastern time, New York time. So it will look like it happened on the 3rd when you look at TradingView, but it actually happened within the 2nd of February. Well, February 2nd was the 33rd day of the year, as you can see right here. So I just want you to keep this number 33 in mind. Then the following month on March 3rd was a very important date because the day before, Trump made the Truth Social post about the crypto strategic reserve, which named XRP and Cardano and Solana. And then, as you're all well aware, the following day on March 3rd, the Gregorian 3 date, remember we're talking about 33, and it was also the day that leaves 303 days left in the year. Again, utilizing numerology, you'd remove the 0, you get back to 33, the master number. Well, now if you take from March 3rd, the Gregorian 3-3 date, we have the 3-3 connection right there, and you bring it 33 days forward, it brings you to April 4th. This number 33 is the master number of transmutation, essentially changing from one form to another form. And the fact that we had a 2-2 ritual on February 2nd and then also a 3-3 ritual on March 3rd, specifically for the crypto market, this is definitely making me consider April 4th, the 4-4 date, could be another interesting date for turbulence in the crypto market. So keep that in mind, especially because it's into our weekly close. And that means once the traditional markets are closing off for Friday, CME closes up, got Forex closing up, well then what happens? Crypto is then trading alone. So just keep this all in mind, especially since it's the day before this mythological archetype we talk about quite often, Satoshi Nakamoto's 50th birthday on April 5th, also landing on a Saturday for Saturn. This is the god that Satoshi embodies here in cryptocurrency and blockchain, but I don't want to get too complicated right now. I want to stick to these basics and fundamentals, and anyone could just look up when is Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday and it will tell you April 5th, 1975. So naturally, lining up to next Saturday, it will be the 50th birthday, and Bitcoin has been known to hit very specific prices during Satoshi's birthday, like back in 2022, for example. Let me quickly pull up the Bitcoin chart and show you what went down. So we're going right here to 2022, April 5th, and you see that day right there. Well, if you were to look up here where it says C, right now it's going to say 47 over here. You're going to see 40. Let me show you real quick, because sometimes every exchange is different. I should have done this on the index chart. That's the best chart to do it. So right there, you're going to see that the high of the day was 47,193. If you were to look at most exchanges, it's going to be a high of 47,000 on April 5th, 2022. Note that this was the last date that Bitcoin traded at 47,000, all the way until 2 years later. But what's really amazing about this date is it was Satoshi's 47th birthday. So we have on the 47th birthday across most exchanges, the highest Bitcoin traded was 47K. Again, we're looking at the index chart now. A moment ago, we were looking at another exchange, but index just kind of takes most of the data and aggregates it and brings it all together. And you're going to see this 47K number. We did not hit 47K again until guess when? The day the Bitcoin ETF was officially approved and launched. Again, almost 2 years later. So literally on Satoshi's 47th birthday, April 5th, 2022, it was the last time Bitcoin traded to 47K until the bear market was over. And keep in mind, 47 is the 15th prime number. And remember how Bitcoin corrected to 15K during the bottom of the bear market in November 2022? So the birthday marked the last time it would trade at a specific price, and it also had a hidden code within it telling you what the future price would be. Again, here we are decoding the markets. We're utilizing the exoteric data. We're decoding it to get to the esoteric. That's what we do here. So if we were to take from Satoshi's birthday on April 5th, 2022, I'm actually going to plug this in for you guys, over to November 21st of 2022, which was the lowest that Bitcoin traded throughout the entire bear market. Let me zoom in to just show you what I'm talking about. It's this day right here, November 21st. We're taking from the 47th birthday over to the lows of the bear market. And you'll see over here exactly 33 weeks apart. So again, this 33 code is revealing its significance here. And yet another reason why I'm keeping April 4th in mind. Again, coming back to today's decode, where we're talking about 33 days past the 3-3 date of this year. Another gem that I could share with you regarding a significant connection to April 4th is how it's tied to Chinese New Year, which was the 29th of this year. And you're going to see they are 66 days apart. Well, 33 plus 33, or 33 doubled, would be 66. And we're talking about Chinese New Year, which was the year of the snake, which we're currently in, as many of you are aware if you follow this channel. Snake gives you 50 in Gematria, and we are talking about Satoshi's 50th birthday happening this week on April 5th. Again, you remove the 0, you're back to the number 5. This is a very powerful number for this year. And this number 50 is the Jubilee number, being that every 7 years is a sabbatical year. Then we have 7 cycles of 7 years, which will be 49 years. And then on the 50th year, the following year, Jubilee is practiced. Now, perhaps some of you were following this channel back in 2023 when we were in the Jubilee year. And remember how at the very end of the sabbatical year, the entire market hit a bottom. Right there after the end of the Hebrew year. And then for the entire Jubilee year, we were in a recovery. So this makes me think that this crypto cycle for Bitcoin here in 2025 will be very different. And so far, the fact we saw Bitcoin enter price discovery and is still technically within price discovery, but we do not have a noticeable alt season just yet, and not even a new all-time high for Ethereum, which, by the way, ETH equals 33 in Gematria. But we don't even have a new all-time high for ETH, and simultaneously Bitcoin dominance just continues to push up higher and higher since Bitcoin bottomed in the last bear market back in November 2022. This shows we're definitely seeing something unique this time around, specifically for Bitcoin, and the fact that we're moving into Satoshi's Jubilee, the 50th year, it could very well be the reason. And we'll continue to follow up with this as we progress. We just won't know until we get there. By the way, this is information that I taught a year and a half ago to anticipate for this particular year regarding Satoshi's Jubilee. And numerologically, we're in a 7-year for Bitcoin since it's been 16 years since the Genesis block was mined, and 16, 1 plus 6 reduces to 7, a number associated with Jubilee. As I said before, 7 is the sabbatical year, 7 cycles of 7, 49 years. On the 50th year, biblical Jubilee is practiced. And I'll decode that a little bit more in my next video, since we'll actually be through Satoshi's birthday. Now, the next significant date I want you to keep in mind would be next Monday. Okay, it's going to be April 7th, being the 97th day of this year, another key number during this year of the snake, since the snake is the serpent, and serpent gives you 97, just like what we're talking about here on this channel. Crypto gives you 97. 97 is the 25th prime number, and this 25 not only shows up in crypto in the Chaldean cipher, but also in the ticker symbol of Bitcoin BTC's 25. It's also the Gregorian year of 2025, and the Hebrew year of 5785, which adds up to 25. This 25 number is massively important for this year. And you just heard me before talking about the sabbatical year. You heard me talking about Jubilee. These are all things that are practiced a lot more in the Hebrew calendar, which is something we like to utilize quite a bit on this channel. So getting back to this, I believe leading into April 7th, the crypto market will actually move up into this date. So keep that in mind. Over the next 48 hours, we should have confirmed our local bottom. Let's just say by around April 3rd. Of course, we're going to get a lot of volatility for the day before and the day after this Liberation Day. And then we would move up until around April 7th, until potentially April 9th. And this is when Mercury is stationing direct on April 7th, which is then I actually expect another correction starting from around April 8th into the upcoming full moon on April 13th. So guys, I'm giving you the exact dates here. Then after we come down into around April 13th, I do think the bottoming structure will be formed by April 15th into April 16th, again around the full moon. And this is actually a similar move that we did at the start of the lunar cycle in May of 2022. We're talking about right here. If I was to zoom in and I was to turn on the moon phases, you're going to see we had our lunar eclipse. We just dumped into the lunar eclipse. We chopped sideways. We passed through the solar eclipse, which we just did a couple days ago. We moved a little bit up after the solar eclipse. What are we doing now? And then we dumped into the following full moon. That kind of aligns with what I'm explaining here. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to go lower, though, than what we've already done. We're just talking about the energetics of the move. We could actually see in the short term, Bitcoin can go all the way up to 90K by April 7th. And then when it comes down and corrects into the 14th, 15th, or 16th, it might be a higher low. It won't actually be lower than the 13th of March. So I hope you understand what I'm teaching you here. The energetics, the prices, we're doing our best to combine it all and keep things simple, not too complicated. So we've had this happen before, and guess what was going on back then? The same exact combo astrologically, well, that we have now. We had a start of a lunar cycle combined with Mercury retrograde, just like we have here in 2025. Total lunar eclipse occurred on March 14th. Mercury stationed retrograde the day later. And we still have until next full moon on April 13th to be out of this eclipse energy, and of course, completely out of the Mercury retrograde energy as well, which is something that I talked about a little bit earlier. So even though it's been a rough past couple months, we should be through this intense bearish energy within this month of April. And for Bitcoin, the March 11th bottom could be it, even if we were to push back into the high 70K territory, which would be right around here. Let's call it 78, 79. Even if we were to push back into that territory around April 13th, around the full moon this month, it could play out kind of like a double bottom situation where it becomes a bullish W pattern that breaks to the upside into the month of May. Although based on everything I've decoded over the past 3 weeks, it seems the most bullish time frame would be July moving into August for a full recovery from our recent correction. And if you followed along here with any of the videos that I put out last year in 2024, then you'd know I've been pointing to August 2025 as a significant month for crypto, even before I released my crypto decoding blueprint in June 2024. So even from that course being released, it was still information that I shared and an outlook that I shared on August 2025, a year in advance. And perhaps some of you remember last year when I called for the flash correction for the August new moon that happened right here. Over a month in advance, we talked about this due to a pattern that I discovered for Bitcoin, specifically for the August new moon. Well, the fact that the August new moon this year will be in late August and it's right before another total lunar eclipse, I believe this year will play out similarly as well. So if we do in fact get a significant recovery from where we're trading at today and push up into August, then I definitely consider at least de-risking or perhaps even taking significant profits before the date of April 20 or August 23rd. So keep that date marked on your calendars, August 23rd. That's not financial advice, of course, but Bitcoin does like to dump into that specific new moon more than most, and it's been dumping into most new moons anyways. So unless we get what most would consider a clean 4-year cycle like we've always had for Bitcoin, well, for those who do not see the 4-year cycle playing out, then you could consider yourself warned for the next major take profit time frame. And to be safe, it would be about a week before the August new moon, so around August 14th through 18th, if I had to really dial it in. You're welcome. And since I brought it up, I'd love to know your thoughts regarding the 4-year cycle. For us, it's not something we're holding on to for dear life at all. So if you think Bitcoin will top in November or December at the end of this year in 2025, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to know your thoughts, and I'll definitely read through all of the comments. And with Bitcoin having a very bullish Q4 in 2023 and in 2024, interestingly enough, if you were to analyze what Bitcoin did in Q4 2023 and 2024, it was essentially exactly a 70% gain both years during those time frames. I think one year it was like 68%, the last year was like 72%, so call it 70. This would actually push Bitcoin into new all-time highs, of course, but we'd have to see where we'd be trading at in October because that was the breakout time in both iterations. But if we were to measure about 70% from here, that'd be about 130k Bitcoin, which is a very reasonable target, a lot more reasonable than some of the numbers we typically heard floating around during Q4 last year. And of course, what we're discussing right now is the idea of the quote 4-year cycle. And if this were to play out, which was the case every single cycle, we know this, right? Then it would make sense for at least a 120k Bitcoin before the end of 2025, but I am personally not so sure about a clean 4-year cycle playing out. I'm personally more focused on July into August, but that's just my opinion, which is of course why I'd love to hear yours in the comment section. So let us know. Now, for those who believe the top is in, and we're now about to enter a bear market, which is becoming a more popular opinion as the days progress, which I kind of like because the more fear enters this market, the more I get greedy. Well, for those people who believe that, let's entertain that theory for a moment, and let me show you something that could be enlightening for those who want to know how things could play out over the next couple months for April and May. So we're going to be looking at the S&P chart. Back in 2001, I believe I've identified a pattern, and this could be very helpful for all of us. So we're looking at 2001. I'm going to open up over here. I'm going to open up the S&P chart. Not going to put any bells and whistles on this. Just keep it nice and simple. We're going to zoom in. Well, if we see during Q1 2021, we corrected through the month of February into late March, and then we had a short-term buyback right into March 27th, and that turned out to be a fake out, and then the S&P dumped right back into the lows at the start of April. So remember, the first low was in March, then a buyback into specifically a Tuesday, March 27th, rejection, return back to the lows at the start of April. Now let's go over to the chart we have today. Well, we know that we got the full correction through February into March. We bottomed, then we come up literally Tuesday, March 25th, and here we get rejected and retest our lows into the start of April with this double bottom structure. So far, this is playing out very similar to how it did back in 2001. Now, keep in mind, back in 2001, it actually was around April 4th that we had the pivot before a confirmed relief rally. And that date also happened to be the full moon back then, and I was just talking about the specific date of April 4th earlier in today's decode and the April full moon earlier in today's decode. So consider, we can chop around these lows in the S&P chart for the next 48 hours or so, and then push up into April 8th. And then we could actually come back down a little bit to the full moon and then continuation upwards into like around April 20th. And the most important thing to bring up about all of this is that in 2001, there was a confirmed relief rally that ended on the May new moon on May 23rd, 2001, which marked a lower high peak that actually rolled over and we went into an even deeper bear market. So this is why I'm entertaining this fractal, this scenario for those that think the top is in, and I'm still giving a bullish outlook over the next month into May. This is why I want everyone to consider how this could play out for the market, since here in 2025, this May new moon will be on May 27th, and we know for the past couple years, the crypto market has loved to dump immediately after new moons. We just had it happen recently. And look back at the level that we topped out in May 2001. If you were to pull a fib from the swing high to the swing low, we got rejected exactly at the top of the golden pocket at the 786 fib before rolling over. And if we were to pull the same fib with today's market, we would actually see that it would bring us to this level of around 6,000 right there. That would be the technical level to anticipate if we were to in fact go into a confirmed relief rally. And the confirmation we'd be looking for is a break above 5,800 points, and ideally a daily close above this 0.5 fib so that it doesn't turn out to be like a dead cat bounce scenario, which kind of is what this feels like now. And keep in mind, if we were to turn this into like a mid-cycle correction, and this were not to be the end, we can just take this fractal over here, and I think something interesting could be playing out if we were to copy over what we're seeing now with similar lows. It would push us into around October, I believe, and we would be hitting into this 1618, the golden ratio. So that would be around 6,600 points, which of course would be the most bullish case scenario and also aligns with the quote Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Now, I'll be honest, I don't personally see a 6,600 S&P in Q4 of this year unless we get quantitative easing, unless we get QE from the Fed. But I could entertain one more run up close to the 6,000 point territory into late May, which would also bring Bitcoin very close to the 100K territory or right around 100K. And I do expect a retest of 90K within this month of April for Bitcoin. Anytime during this month, it could happen very soon, depending on how this April 2nd event goes, or into just later into the month as we push through into the next new moon, late April. And I do believe we'd at least be back in the macro support line, which, let me show you real quick, for Bitcoin was around 93K. So right here in this zone that we broke down from, right where you see this 0.5 to 618. So think 93K. Now, what does that all mean for XRP? And that's where I want to end today's video. Let's go over to the XRP chart and analyze how this could all play out for our favorite altcoin. Now, here you can see a fractal. This fractal is from April 2017 until the cycle ended at the start of 2018 in the first week of January. So we're talking about this fractal back here, leading into that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in again. And when we zoom in, you'll see that this fractal is playing out actually in alignment with the analysis that I just shared for the S&P and Bitcoin with a move up into May. And if we were to get this high in May and Bitcoin dominance is still above 60%, keep this in mind, then this is likely how things can play out. Very close to how things could play out. But it has to be Bitcoin dominance still that high. And that could mean a little more sideways for XRP over the next couple months. And I know you don't have to tell me it sounds boring. It doesn't sound fun. Trust me, I get it. But look at how July played out in this fractal. if I were to zoom out, let me show you what this could lead to. A very sharp move to the upside. This would be like double-digit XRP right before the month of August. Now, of course, we can't just rely on fractals, and almost any time you see me using fractals, I give a disclaimer saying to not rely on them. I never have, but there are patterns that play out based on an algorithm, and that's undeniable. So once we can identify when the energy will shift from bearish to boring and then to eventually bullish, as long as we can keep our composure during the sentiment cycle, we can be on the profitable side of the play. And to me, it feels like XRP is currently within the boredom phase, where now the even XRP army is complaining about a $2 XRP, which is sad, but that's what we're dealing with now. Imagine I told you a year ago that trading between $2 to $3 would be boring for XRP holders. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm grateful to have accumulated all the sub 50-cent XRP, with most of my long-term holdings accumulated sub 30 cents. And the fact XRP has been trading above $2 for over 100 days, and in the last cycle it was barely trading above $2 for 2 weeks, it shows incredible strength right now compared to the majority of the altcoin market, which for the most part just had a 70% correction. So as long as we're holding this $2 support right here, things are looking good for XRP. And I'm sure, we can entertain filling out this wick from February 2nd. But if that were to happen, I do think it would happen very soon within this month of April, and then we would still be pushing back up to around 220 and closing out the month closer to 250 than $2. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. We'll let this market do its thing, and I'll be following up on this market next Sunday in my new Red Pill podcast. And in the meantime, I just wanted to share a quick update that enrollment for WatersAbove University will be opening up very soon. We had an incredible launch of the university back in January of this year, and we're now ready to open up for our second cohort in a couple weeks. So if you're interested in joining our university, you can go to watersabove.com/university and you could join our waitlist to be the first to be notified when we are officially opening up new spots for new members. And I'm really looking forward to having you join us over there. We are creating amazing businesses, teaching how to become an entrepreneur and a leader. And I will be catching you all very soon when we open up enrollment for our university in a couple weeks. And wishing you all a beautiful rest of your week in the Matrix. Much love.